Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast. We are sitting today in Multicultural Center in Krakow. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Ethan Smith. He is from South Africa, Cape Town, and we're going to talk with him today regarding his journey in Krakow.
Hey, Kaur.
Hi. So let us know about how your journey started and how you actually choose to move to Krakow.
Okay, I'll start a little bit before. So as you said, I'm Ethan. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, Kaapstad, RPA. I'm a musician, a saxophone player, and I think it's also a very important fact of what brought me to Krakow to begin with. So I came to Poland in 2012 for the first time. I went to the coast, to the Baltic coast of Poland, and I got involved with a project called Viva Cultura in 2012. And it's a performing arts group, a traveling performing arts group. So and every year in the summertime they would do these open air free festivals on the coast of Poland. So I started coming for these, and then I just sort of decided, I figured, well, since I'm spending so much time outside of South Africa, and since I wanted to make a move outside of South Africa anyway, I thought this was a good opportunity to do so. So I decided, since I've got one foot in the door in Poland already, I'll just try and stay.
Yeah.
And then why Krakow particularly? It was really on the recommendation of my friends and my colleagues. I told them, well, I'm thinking of staying in Poland. Where do you think I should go? And it was, of course, between Warsaw and Wrocław and Krakow. Those were the three sort of
main cities, yeah,
main competitors.
Yeah.
But all of my friends said that, well, if you're a musician, you're an artist, go to Krakow. And then and so that's what I did. And so I came to Krakow for the first time in 2014. And but actually, I in my mind, 2016 is when I officially, yes, I sort of recognized that as my official move to Krakow.
So tell us a little bit about your history and background in music, how it started.
How it started, yeah. So I started making music at school, at high school. I was 16 years old when I got my first saxophone. Of course, I was making music a little bit before that. I was playing some piano. I was doing some vocal training. I wasn't very good at the piano. In fact, it's one of the reasons why one of my high school music teachers suggested that I change instrument, and so I changed my instrument for the saxophone. And yes, it was like a hand to a glove, right? I sort of found my instrument. I fell in love with the instrument, and then I think an important part of that was also there was a friend of mine, a musician friend of mine at high school. He's a piano player, Kyle Shepard. He is 2 years older than me, and I largely credit him for being responsible for my sort of birth as a musician, right? Because he was he knew a lot about jazz music at the time, and he was getting into jazz and improvisation. And then he started sharing. He brought me into this world basically of jazz music and improvisation and so on. He started showing me all the sort of pioneering and important albums in the genre, the important musicians, and then I fell in love with this music. And then I decided, well, this is sort of what I'd like to do. And I went to university, and I went to study jazz music at the university in Cape Town. And then yes, and then that basically takes us up to 2012, and then 2012 was when I came to Poland for the first time. Yeah.
So, but you also did some shows in Cape Town.
Yes, absolutely. I was already working as a musician in Cape Town. Even at high school already, we started doing performances and things like this. We had quite a good. Even our high school band was quite good, and that's where I started. I started learning a lot of things about so the professional music industry, right? Yeah, so I'd say I had a couple of years in Cape Town when I sort of started my career, started budding. But then I left soon afterwards. I left like I said, in 2012. I came to Poland for the first time, and then I realized that since I was traveling for so many months of the year, many of the projects that I had been involved in South Africa, in Cape Town, started to. Well, I just got replaced because I wasn't around, right? So they got different saxophone players in these projects. So I figured out, well, okay, maybe this is the time. This is the time to make a move. Right?
Somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about band. So I want to know, like, after coming back from South Africa, did you create some band in Krakow?
Yes. It took quite some time. So for my first few years in Krakow, I was actually playing on the street. I was playing in Krakow's main market square, and that's where a lot of people know me from, and that's where I met a lot of people, a lot of musicians as well.
Which year it was?
So that was like 2016.
Okay, so when you actually moved to Krakow?
When I moved to Krakow, yes. But yes, playing on the street or busking was also, I think, a very important move for my career. Yeah, and then one thing sort of led to another. That's how I met people, and through meeting people, you meet more people, and started going to places where musicians were hanging out, going to jam sessions and so on. And then I met quite a few of my colleagues, or people that then became my colleagues that way, right? And then we, over the years, we started forming projects
and bands
together.
And so on.
Yeah.
Is there any specific name of the band, or?
Well, there's quite a few. So I've got my I've got my hands in quite a few cookie jars at the moment.
Okay, so it's like a multi areas that you are involved in.
Yes, and I think, well, the Afronauts, that's probably the first band that I became heavily or seriously involved with. So the Afronauts is one. The Black Tie Trio, so that's a blues focused band. I play bass guitar in the Black Tie Trio. There's a more sort of jazz experimental improvisation focused band called Neon Faces. I'm involved with Neon Faces. What else? And then also just, Oneric Dunes. This is a duo that I have with the guitarist Grzegorz Kosowski.
Okay.
So that's sort of more atmospheric, ambient, and soundscaping kind of music. And then freelancing with various musicians in the city. Wasim Ibrahim. We've started working together quite a lot in recent years. Ablai Baji. And so on and so on and so on. So
yeah. So you only play saxophone, or you also play? I think you also play multiple instruments.
Yes, I do play multiple instruments. Yes, I play 5. In fact, I play 5 instruments convincingly, at least. I play saxophone. I play flute. I play bass guitar.
Okay.
I play piano, and I play a little bit of guitar. So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
And how long it took you to learn those 5? I know I'm not going to ask, but I'm going to ask.
You're going to ask. Well, I think they also came at different points, right? And obviously some instruments I can play better than others. But you know what I realized, Kaur? It's like a language, right? Like if
Yeah.
you know 2 languages or 3 languages, like learning languages after that becomes a lot easier and a lot faster because you sort of understand the mechanics of how
It work.
languages works, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say because of I had a very solid and strong training and foundation in music from high school to university, right? And that has definitely helped me to understand the language of music, let's say, and then how to translate that to the other instruments, right?
Yeah.
So obviously saxophone, that's what I play the most. That's what people know me as. They know me as a saxophone player. That's how I've built my identity as a musician, as a saxophone player. So that's been the longest. And then I say flute probably came. In fact, I actually started as I mentioned this earlier. I started as a piano player, but I wasn't very good at high school. Well, I wasn't very good, but I think I was also just a little bit lazy, at high school, and I wasn't so inspired to practice the things that were prescribed for us to
Yeah.
practice, right? It was only then when I changed to saxophone and I fell in love with the instrument of the saxophone. And then because now I switched to saxophone, my piano teacher started doing the more fun things on piano with me, which I then also appreciated. So yeah, it sort of went from the one to the other like
So it's
this.
like hard work for many years learning
Absolutely.
those instruments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I try to learn ukulele.
Yes.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe 30 minutes if I do every day watching YouTube videos.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not going to work out with me for
Well,
sure.
the thing is, no, I think you have the formula correct. You need 30 minutes a day, but you need
Yeah.
30 minutes a day for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
So that I think that's the thing that
And I think
also
going every day, it's actually hard. So
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
understand your childhood stuff. I'm still living in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yes.
It's regarding like when you moved to Krakow.
Mm-hmm.
Is it very supportive everyone here, or how was your experience being in Krakow, working with your music and people around you? Because technically they speak different language than you and I, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
how was your experience in
Yeah.
that end?
So I think it's been exceptionally favorable, right? And I think a large part of my success in Krakow is because of that fact, is because that I've really been embraced by Krakow, by the city, by the people of the city. And you're right, like coming in, both of us are, are foreigners in Krakow, with a language that is exceptionally difficult to learn. I think also to our advantage, many people in Krakow speak English and they speak good English, right? So that's definitely advantageous, right? So how have I found it? I found it incredibly supportive. I know, particularly in the early years, it still happens now as well, but particularly in the early years, I was met with a lot of curiosity. People were just trying to figure out who I am or where this guy is from. Like they would see me and then they'd be like, he looks kind of
European.
Well, not even like South American. I would get that a lot. Brazilian. So people, they come up to me, they'd say, oh, like you look like you're Latino or like Brazilian or Egyptian. I would get Egyptian a lot, some reason. So they'd see me, they think I'm South American, and then they hear me speak.
Yeah.
And then they think I'm Irish or Scottish because of my accent. And then I tell them I'm from South Africa, and then it's just like completely blows their minds. But for the most part, I've been met with curiosity, with pleasant curiosity, and I think also because I'm making music and something that's fun, that's entertaining, that is overall good and uplifting. I think people really responded to that well. I think I've often said to people that I don't think I would be able to do what I'm doing, had I stayed in South Africa, I wouldn't be able to do
And
in South Africa what I'm doing in Krakow, you know. So so I've been exceptionally grateful to Krakow, and particularly for this fact that I can live here and work here as a musician.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's very important, because when you move to some different country and where you see that people are not supportive and they are against you, it's very hard for a person to survive over there. So it's actually good that despite being they speak different language than us, still they are more open to the idea that we are foreigners and we came from different culture, and they're okay to accept it.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, big difference I feel in specifically in Krakow.
Yeah.
That's what I have experienced as well. But yes, I think it's quite well here.
And I think even on this point, Kaur, like if you're bringing something that has cultural value, I think it's also embraced wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You know, so I've found that, you know, coming in as a musician, you know, it's someone that's from Africa, from South Africa, with a particular you know, set of skills, a particular sound, a particular cultural identity to something that is so obviously cultural. Like, those are the things that we associate with culture, right? It's music, it's food, and it's language, and it's like dress.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're coming in with those sorts of things and you're offering it, especially in a place like Krakow, which, you know, has famously regarded as the cultural capital of Poland.
Yeah.
Right. And so coming into the cultural capital of Poland with something cultural to offer, right, I think it's already, you know, you have a good amount of brownie points in the bank
to give someone
to start with. Yes. You know, so to start with. So
it's actually needed, I think, when you move somewhere. If you leave your culture, we have saying in India that if you cut off from your roots, you are nothing. So you need to stay in, like, grab your roots, because that's very important, that who you are. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I have a question for you, the another one, and this is regarding people who want to learn music. Do you have some people come to you like, oh, can you teach me what you do and how you play saxophone? Can you teach me? Or is there anyone who came to you and asked you this?
Yes.
And what was your response?
My response was, well, it depends on what they're asking, right? Like, so some people come to me asking for if I teach, and would I be willing to show them, to give them lessons. In which cases I say yes. Like, I think I'm a decent enough teacher, and also because I understand music well enough, I'm able to explain it. So that's one thing. But if people just sort of come up to me, you know, at an event and generally ask me, you know, well, what should I do, you know, if I want to be better at music, I'd give the advice that we mentioned earlier, right? That it starts with, it's just an everyday
30 minutes.
Yes, you know, it's or most days of the week, you know, if you can. It's like learning a language, right? You have to, you won't learn a language in like 6 months or in 1 year. You won't be fluent. I mean, of course, some people could be. It depends on how much time you're going to put into it. So with music, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, it's like dripping water on a stone, on a rock, right? It's
and
like
it will take years to make a hole in it.
It takes some years, but I also I believe that music is an incredibly rewarding experience, right? And it's one of those things that, like, once you have it, and once you understand sort of the enough of the mechanics of music, again, it's like a language. You don't ever really lose it, right? You just sort of have to like for example, there's this language in Cape Town where I'm from called Afrikaans. So I speak Afrikaans, but I haven't spoken Afrikaans in so many years now. But right, so when I go back to Cape Town and I start to speak a little bit of Afrikaans, it always takes a little bit. It takes 2 or 3 days to
adjust to it. Yeah.
But once you're in the environment, then it comes back.
Yeah,
you
naturally.
know, it comes back naturally. Comes back.
So
straight
I
away,
have the
so.
same thing when I go to now India, for
Yes.
example.
Yeah.
Whenever I meet someone on the shopkeeper, I was like, from my mouth is automatically coming Dzień dobry. I have to stop myself not to speak it. And then
Yes.
my partner was like, no, they don't speak Dzień dobry. You should say hi or your language, not
Yes.
use my language here.
Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
hard actually because you get used to it daily
Absolutely.
and routine wise.
Yeah,
And you use the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
And
Yeah, Dzień dobry, przepraszam.
Przepraszam,
Yeah,
Dzień dobry.
przepraszam, yeah. I know. I
Despite being they don't know.
have, yes, despite them not knowing, and it's quite a funny thing and quite an incredible thing. I find myself that happens for me with like fruits and vegetables.
Oh yeah.
Right, so I'd still use the Polish.
Cibula.
Exactly, you know.
Braki.
Yeah, exactly. I'd use like I'm thinking of a vegetable in English, but then the Polish word is there before the English word comes in. So so it's exactly like this.
I think it's incredible that we are living in a different language culture. It's also kind of for us. It's very helpful in a way. But sometimes I feel like, yes, I'm learning. When you learn some new language, you actually mess with your old language as well because you start using a different words in a different situation.
Yeah.
And then you realize like, this is different language and that is different language. But it's very nice actually.
Yeah.
So I want to know about, because every artist who actually want to do something in their life, they definitely have some kind of hardship. And I want to know if you are willing to share about yours. How was it and how was the experience and how you come out of it? So, because it's very important.
Sure, yeah. So I think, well, firstly, I think being a musician or an artist, of any kind, in my case, a musician, being a musician anyway is quite difficult. It's quite challenging. But yeah, particularly when I came to Krakow, if we're speaking about some of the just obstacles and challenges I had. Excuse me. Well, one thing was, so when I first came to Krakow in 2016, I really knew absolutely nobody. I came in just as a complete stranger and, really started from the ground, even from the street, quite literally. As I said, I was playing on the streets, in the main market square. So I know particularly the first 2 years in Krakow were quite tough in that sense because, just sort of meeting people, making friends, meeting people who would eventually become colleagues. Now, what has been pleasant in Krakow is that I've found Polish people or Krakowians quite open. So it was never difficult to have a conversation with anyone.
Yeah.
Right. But it obviously just took some time before like sort of making friends, and also before making professional friends, right? Yeah. People that I would then hire me, and ask me for performances and things like this. So that was quite challenging. There was a little bit of like, oh God, why hast thou forsaken me? Kind of, this kind of thing. Like, wow, I'm doing everything I can. I'm showing up. I'm doing my part, but nothing else is coming from the other end. The winter times as well.
It's so hard.
Winter times in Poland, in Krakow, was also quite challenging, and particularly, playing out on the streets. Like, thinking back on it now, I still find it like really far out that I was actually out there in the winters, you know, out on the main market square playing my saxophone in the snow. Sometimes it made for some of the most sort of magical moments, but at the same time, knowing what I was going through, just sort of mentally, emotionally. But then also, I'm also grateful for that experience, because now when I think back to those times, and I realize that, well, actually, I did it, and I actually made it through, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the conversations that I was having with myself in my mind, you know, when it was like the 25th of November and it was just dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and cold, and I was
It's a depressing time.
walking from my apartment to Krakow to the main market square, thinking to myself, like, well, like, Ethan, you have to do this. You know, you really have to do this, or you know, like, you have to get yourself through this, and you have to show up, right? And just go and do what you're destined to do. Go and do what you're good at. Like, go and make music. Go with your saxophone. Go with your, you know, it's like I've spent some time in India, you know, where you're from, and I'm sure you know, in India there's this book, the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah.
And in Bhagavad Gita there's this archer, Arjuna, right? And at the very beginning of the story, he says to the Lord, you know, I don't want to fight, you know.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
my family.
And then Lord, exactly, this is my family on the other side. How can I fight them?
Yeah.
You know. And then Lord Krishna says to him, well, but this is what you do.
Destined to do it.
Yeah. So pick up your bow, you know, and you know, and do what you do as a warrior, right? So similarly, I had this many of these kinds of thoughts, and many of these meditations, and many of these realizations, right? That, well, if I just show up, and if I take care of the music, then the music will eventually take care of me. And I've found that to be a true principle, right? So I'd say that's definitely what has helped me through those challenging times, right? It was just remembering, well, Ethan, you are a musician, right? You're a saxophone player. Like, go and play your saxophone.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think, like, artist life and the other, like, people who are not artists, everyone is little bit artist inside them, but this specifically, like with you, it's like you are related to music. The other people who are not related to music, do you think they have a different, maybe less hardship than yours, or do you think they have similar type?
I think it's quite similar, you know. I think there's a lot of overlap, you know, between, for example, I have some very good friends. It's a couple, Tomasz and Daria, and they like actual visual artists. So they paint and they sketch and they, you know, and many of our conversations we've had over dinner and over lunch, and we've shared. We found that so many of our stories overlap, right? So I do think there's overlap. The details would be different, but I think much of the internal experience, you know, it's quite the same. Like, all of us, like, as an artist, whether you're a dancer, whether you're a writer, whether you're a painter, whether you're a musician, whether, you know, like, you have to practice. You have to be honing your craft, as we say in English, right? So artists need to put that time aside to be like chipping away that 30 minutes a day, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just getting better, right? And the challenges that come with that, you know. So often you feel like, well, like, what's the point of it all? Is it even worth it? You know, I'm sitting here practicing my instrument, and like, I could be doing something.
Keep going is hard.
Yeah.
So
I think though, Kaur, in my case, I mean, maybe fortunately and unfortunately, but I think to my good fortune, I didn't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I didn't have anything else to fall back on or backup plan. So I really had to make this music thing work. I was forced to, right?
Complete it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is also like an important part of what pushed what pushed me to carry on.
Yeah, and keep
Right.
going, yeah. I
Yeah.
think this is very important, like when someone is actually on a down point, I think in our life, sometimes it happens like when you are already feeling demotivated, something is inside you that's making you like, no, you should keep up, keep going. And we have recently one movie released in India, it's called Retake. You
Okay.
have to retake exam over
Yeah.
and over again
Yeah.
until you will pass. So,
Oh wow.
so people doing restart
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
They have to restart it anyway. But
Yeah.
some people, I think there is some of the scenarios people actually feel so demotivated they don't wanna maybe move further or move forward, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But currently, I think here is a social media era now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's like now more easier than before for artists, or is it similar like that?
I think it's similar. Like there are certain things that are easier, and there are certain things that have become more difficult because of social media, right? So I don't necessarily think it's you know, I don't think one can say, well, 50 years ago things were better and now they're not, or the other way around. 50 years ago things were worse for artists, musicians, and now things are better.
Yeah.
Right? I think there are certainly certain things that are easier, that are better, that technology has helped with. And there are also certain things that technology has disadvantaged, right? So, but I do think it's important that, well, you know, I think everybody, you know, like now our smartphones are part of our lives. It's become like
Very
almost
important.
another appendage to our bodies, right? It's so integrated with our identities, right? And who we are online and the things we do online has become so just so important to our lives, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's no dispensing. You cannot ignore technology, and I think musicians and artists in general have always been at the forefront of embracing new technologies.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel the same way now, right? I feel that like it should be the musicians, it should be the artists, the dancers, the painters, the sculptors, the writers, you know,
they're actually showing their talent over many people nowadays.
And embracing the technologies, right?
Yeah.
For sure, one thing that social media and the internet has made a lot easier is one's ability to go further. Like my music can now be heard all over the world.
Yeah.
Whereas 50 years ago, it was a lot more difficult for that, right?
Yeah.
But it also means that every single musician and every single artist's music can now also be heard all over the world. So it's like
big competition.
Yeah, how is it then that sets one apart from, you know, whatever, 100 years ago, you were the musician in your town or in your village and you were really good.
Yeah.
You know, you were the good musician in the town, right? But and it was obvious that like it was these five or whatever. There were these five musicians. They were the good musicians. They were the ones who do the concerts and who compose the pieces for the whatever, for the
kings,
for the kings, for the emperors, ballroom events and so on, right? And then it was obvious, right?
I think at that time it was like a luxury that you calling someone and for music. But I think nowadays is like if you are more famous, then it's considered as luxury. So if you're calling someone who is more famous, then people think is a luxury, despite being maybe he doesn't have that much of the talent.
Of the talent, yes,
So,
exactly.
talent can be missing, but he could be famous.
He could be famous just for being famous.
Yeah,
right?
just to be famous. So yeah, moving back to Krakow.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite place that you, since you came here, you like to go over and over again? Is
Oh
there
wow!
any?
Well, there's quite a few. Well, certainly, I think the place that should get the first mention is there's a cafe, a kaviarnia on Bratska Street.
Okay.
Right, just off the main square. It's called Nova Provincia, and I've been going to Nova Provincia since I came to Krakow. Right. And,
is there any specific? Maybe interior or something.
It does quite have a nice interior. I wouldn't know how to describe it. It's a vibe. It's a really nice sort of modern rustic vibe. I think if you went there, you'd understand, right? But I think what makes this place particularly special for me is that when in these early years when I was playing on the street and I was playing in the main square, I would obviously be collecting coins, and I would then take these coins actually to this cafe, to Nova Provincia, and change, because they need the coins and I obviously need the paper, the bills.
Yeah.
So it was a very symbiotic relationship, right? It was a very mutually beneficial relationship. And then also, like over the years, I started becoming good friends with the staff there, and and then things just like beautiful relationship with the place and with the staff that work at the place started to form. And I remember particularly during the winter months, when I was playing in the main square and I would come out, and then I'd go to Nova Provincia and they would always give me tea and coffee and just to keep warm. Ethan, do you want some lunch? Do you want a snack or something?
So you are like a famous guy there.
Yes, I'd say so. So definitely Nova Provincia, I think, deserves a special mention, right? So that's on Bratska Street. Other places, well, there are places that I've played at frequently. There's Harris Piano Jazz Bar, that's also in the main square. So that's where I've been going for jam sessions for as long as I've been coming to Krakow. That's where I met a lot of my colleagues, musicians, and my now musician friends. So that's a place I go to quite regularly. In the more recent years, I'd say over the last, say, 2 or 3 years, there's a place on just on the corner of Stolarska and the small market square. It's a place called the Lokal. People just know it as the Lokal. It's got a very long name, which I don't know now.
In Polish,
yeah,
hard to speak.
Lokal,
I understand.
Etc. It's got a very long name, but people just call it the Lokal.
Okay.
I've started going there as well. It's quite fun. A lot of also just. I say it's the place where the cool kids in Krakow go to hang out, right? So many musicians also hang out there. So I've met them. Wasim Ibrahim, for example, goes there quite often. But the Lokal, yes, was introduced to me by a good friend of mine, one of my best friends in Krakow, Juan Sarabia. He's from Mexico, and he's been living in Krakow, I think, more than 15 years now, right? And we've also started doing a lot of work together. He has this sort of online music advertising agency called Krakow Music, and we've been doing a lot of collaborative work for events and concerts and things like this. But it was with Juan. We started going to this place, the Lokal. So
now you make that place famous as well.
Yeah. I think the Lokal is famous even without me, right? But I think if anybody's watching this, these are definitely two places.
So they can find you there.
Yeah, Nova Provincia on Bratska Street, and then the Lokal on the corner of Stolarska and the Mały Rynek. They've got good coffee in both places. Nova Provincia has some of the best hot chocolate in the city. I'd say. So
I will try that.
So definitely winter time, or even if it's not winter, but for sure winter time, like go and have a hot chocolate at Nova Provincia.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have the I think it's an important question, I would say. Another important question, that's what's your future plan?
Wow.
Staying in Krakow, moving out,
Moving
flying
out.
somewhere else.
Yes, yes.
So please let us know
yeah,
about it.
Core. It's difficult to say. Well, I can say this. I can say that I definitely like being in Krakow. I even love it here now. Like Krakow has become my home, right? So when I do quite a lot of traveling, and when I'm traveling and I'm thinking about going home, I'm not even necessarily thinking about Cape Town anymore. You know, I'm thinking when my mind says, "Oh wow, it's been whatever. It's been 6 weeks, and I'm ready to go home."
Yeah, so
Like
home become Krakow.
Yeah, home is Krakow. So I think that for me speaks about the importance and the significant place that Krakow has in my life. I would like to stay here as long as I can, and I think over the last my career continues to grow, and over the last few years, it's also continuously growing. More and more people are knowing who I am. They're recognizing the work that I do. They're recognizing the brand and the quality of the work that I do. So I think all of that will expand. I think the fact that we're having this interview today with the Multicultural Center. So I've been involved with the Multicultural Center also over the last couple of years. For the same reasons, right? So I keep getting invitations to come back. So more and more of these sorts of things are happening in Krakow. So I've definitely built a life in Krakow, and also again, like from the ground up, and it's something I feel quite proud of, right? It's been 8 years now that I've been in Krakow, and all of the things that I've managed to do and managed to achieve, I feel quite grateful for, quite humbled by, and also very inspired to continue with. Where does that leave things? Well, I think I will still be traveling for the next few years, because my work takes me traveling, right? So I don't think that will stop. But I also feel like I don't think I'll be leaving Krakow soon.
Okay.
At least in any permanent way. I would like to I'd like to keep things going in Krakow, and as long as Krakow would have me here, I would like to come back to Krakow. It's a beautiful city. It's clean. It's so safe.
So I think thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very
welcome.
welcome.
It was very nice talking with you.
Yes, the same. I feel the same.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, and thank you. So thank you so much for the conversation. I also found it very pleasant and also dynamic. Right, you asked some very good questions that went many places, and I appreciate that. And thank you also to the Multicultural Center for all of the work that they are doing especially for foreigners, immigrants. I think they're doing exceptional work, and I wish for them to grow and to continue, right? And this is all a step in that direction, right? That they getting to hear about the stories and the experiences of foreigners like myself coming to Krakow. So
today we talk with Ethan Smith. Stay tuned for more episodes, and thank you everyone for joining us.